Thank you all so much, and what a lovely introduction. I'm not quite sure I can live up to it. I don't think I've ever been described as someone who personifies American democratic civilization. But anyway, it's lovely to see so many people here tonight. And I truly was, before I heard Red's words, I was thinking of similar things. You know, I'm a New Englander born and bred, and really have spent my formative years in Maine, where you're somewhat taught or acculturated that the warmest greeting you give your neighbor is a slight little nod when you go past. But really the warmth and the hospitality that's been so graciously extended to me today during my visit really has touched my spirit and some of my own sensibilities. So I really appreciate that Midwestern greeting that I've received. And it's truly an honor for me to give this lecture, the 27th birthday lecture here in Oak Park, and to help launch this 4-year initiative of Great Places for Learning. It's certainly a wonderful thing. It's the type of thing we try to do in Boston with our fellow cultural institutions, and whatever we can do to provide support, we're happy to do. I'd also like to thank the directors, the board of directors of the Ernest Hemingway Foundation of Oak Park, and make a few specific thank yous. The past chairs, Alan Baldwin, who I met the first time I was here, Ginny Caston, who is really, as those of you know her, kind of a one-person, unbelievable cheerleader for this organization and has really been my guide throughout the day. Red Griffin, of course, who extended the invitation and corresponded with me throughout. John Barry, the current chair, who picked me up with his dog Buddy at the airport today, as well as Laurie McCarthy, Rick Pogabarczyk, and Foundation staff members Connie Irwin and Allison Sansone. I also had a lovely lunch today with some of the founding members of this organization, which was just a lovely event. So I maybe ask everyone here to join me in thanking the leaders of this organization for all they do to make it possible. When Red first invited me, I was hesitant, and I said, you know, I am not a Hemingway expert. I know, as been proven today already in a number of contexts, there are many people here who know more about Hemingway and his life and literature, but I'm certainly honored and happy to talk about the treasures that we have at the Kennedy Library as part of the Ernest Hemingway Collection. To tell you a bit of the history of how that collection came to the library, because it's quite an interesting story, and to perhaps share a few anecdotes or observations that I've had in my years of helping to oversee and preserve this important collection. You know, it's been a beautiful day here in Oak Park, and I'm reminded of a story that John Kenneth Galbraith once told about the day that the Kennedy Library was dedicated, which was an equally beautiful day like today. And he looked over and said something to that effect to Dave Powers, who was the library's first curator and kind of John Kennedy's right-hand man. Dave Powers had a wonderful Irish wit, and he responded to Ken Galbraith by saying, "Ken, never in the history of the Massachusetts Democratic Party have so many gathered on such a beautiful day with so few under indictment." So anyway, I hope the same can be said for all of us here tonight. When I toured the Hemingway birthplace a few years ago, I realized that our two institutions are united really in a number of ways. We're in the business of preserving the artifacts that help tell the story of Ernest Hemingway's life, of sharing those treasures and anecdotes with others, helping students, researchers, biographers, and literary devotees to better understand how Hemingway's literature was extracted from his life. So I'd like to begin with a short PowerPoint presentation just to give you a sense of the Hemingway room and the Hemingway collection and some of the items that we have in that collection. And then I thought we have a number of our own programs and speakers that come to talk about Hemingway or literature at the library, and I thought I'd show you a few just short video clips to give you a sense of that type of programming that we run. And I'm happy to take some of your questions. And then at the very end, I thought I would end with a short video excerpt of John F. Kennedy talking about the importance of the arts to our country. So let me begin first with a few words about this trunk. There it is. This is the Hemingway room. I'll tell a story later about how the Hemingway collection came to the Kennedy Library, but it was very important to Mary Hemingway, Hemingway's widow, that there be a dedicated room at the Kennedy Library or whatever institution took Ernest Hemingway's papers. And so this is the room that was designed, our building was designed by I.M. Pei, and he created this room, and really it's been lovingly cared for by Patrick Hemingway and his wife Carol. Carol comes every year and asks, when did you last clean the slip covers and put instrumental, actually this is an old picture in ordering some new shutters to make it look more like the Finca Bahia. But anyway, this trunk is in the center of the room, and this particular trunk Ernest Hemingway bought in Africa, actually with his son Patrick. They were at a bazaar. It's the type of trunk that schoolboys would use when they were heading off to prep school. And this particular trunk was sent back from Africa with a number of souvenirs and items that Ernest Hemingway had collected on one of his safaris. And it was sent back to the Finca Bahia and then eventually made its way to the Kennedy Library. This presentation will be, I think, a bit, I hope to show you some treasures, but it will be a bit like rummaging through a trunk. There's no real fixed means of why I chose the different artifacts, just ones that I thought would be of interest to you and would give you a sense of what we have at the library. So, our mission is very clear. It's similar. I think, your mission is more specific to tell the story about Oak Park, but basically our mission is to preserve these treasures that have been given to us and then provide access to them and use them to tell the story of Ernest Hemingway's life. And then it's interesting, when Patrick Hemingway comes, he comes every year to give out the Penn Hemingway Award, he always emphasizes to us that he doesn't want us to focus solely on Hemingway, but to have programming to encourage the importance of literature and appreciation of literature, and so we try to do that through our programming. As Brett has already suggested, probably the most important thing we have is 90% of the known Hemingway manuscripts. And as you know, a number of those manuscripts were not published during Hemingway's life. So there's been lots of interest in those particular manuscripts, as well as the ones that were published, because we have various renditions so people can see the